keep away from Pumpkinhead unless you're tired of sequels. Their haters are mostly right. They're mean and unforgiving.
Now it begins.
Pumpkinhead, ashes to ashes. This is the third installment in the Pumpkinhead series. It came out in October of 2006 on the Sci-Fi Channel when it was called Sci-Fi and not Sci-Fi, and was released on DVD March of 2007. The plot. There's this organ donor, more like a organ thief, who steals people's organs to sell them on the black market. Well, one day he and his posse are caught, and half of them are arrested. Now, a few of the townsfolk who have suffered greatly because of these organ donors, they're now going to summon Pumpkinhead. Now there's going to be a hell of a lot of greasy killings. This could have been a great continuation of the first movie. It's darker, sinister, yet hampered by a lot of things. The acting is pretty poor from almost everybody. Ed Harley, played by Lance Henriksen, he's there. He came back in the background. Now he's just a ghost, warning others of the curse that will attack their very soul. Ed Harley is just an apparition at this point. He's not really even a main character. He's just someone they put on top billing because they knew it would draw more people in because he was in the first Pumpkinhead, along with films like Near Dark, Piranha 2. He's in a lot of great movies, what am I saying? Doc Fraser, played by Doug Bradley, yes, Pinhead from the Hellraiser series. He is the coroner who removes the organs from the victims and sells them on the black market for a hint of cocaine and some good old cash. Doug Bradley, he does okay in this movie. Nothing mind-bogglingly good, but nothing terrible either. He does have some stiff deliveries, like, I don't know, maybe. It could have been. It's really weak in some spots, like he didn't give a crap. But in some spots he does seem to care. Very little, but he cares. Haggis, played by Len Verrell, is actually pretty good as the old woman of the woods. The witch of the woods. I like that she has more raspy voice than the... Well, not really more raspy, more scratchy than the original witch's voice. She talks like this instead of like this. Either way, she needs a lozenge, or however you pronounce that. Thing for your throat, whatever it is. The rest of the cast is below average. I mean, everyone just is either bored or trying way too hard. Maybe with the exception of Molly Sue. Maybe. She does have a heartbreaking scene where she sees her little child that was missing for a long time and she was deemed crazy about it. She finds him amongst the corpses. Bunt Wallace, who is now played by Douglas Roberts, returns to the franchise. Well, not the actor, the character. He is now an older guy. He was the guy who showed Lance Henriksen where the witch was in the first movie. So, yeah, he's terrible at acting, I'm sorry. The face he makes when he gets shot is hilarious. It's like Ellie Johnson, played by Luana Jihina, I guess, is some sort of Wiccan. She doesn't have, like, powers per se, she just believes in Wiccan stuff. It's not really elaborated on. Oliver Allen, played by Emmanuel Parvu, is good with tools. It's brought up a few times, but mainly it's there for the story's convenience. As I said, Molly Sue Allen, who's played by Tess Panzer, actually has a tragic story, and I felt bad for her near the end. It was like, oh man, I mean, she's kind of a you-know-what, but she has every right to be. She lost her kid and everyone called her crazy. I'd be pretty PO'd too. There are some unintentional and intentionally funny scenes. The dialogue is pretty amusing sometimes, and there are a couple scenes that actually got a chuckle out of me. Like one where a body is pried off the stake on the roof, and He falls to the ground, and Doug Bradley's walking past him all of a sudden, and he just looks at it, and it just keeps on walking. That's pretty funny. This was filmed in Romania because it was cheaper to film there back then. It shows it's so cheap looking, but they do a good job with giving it a rustic, grisly quality to it in some scenes. And it does kind of get you in the fall spirit, but not too much. The back cover alone is actually more fall-like than the movie itself. At least the flashing light effect was left behind for this installment. The director, Jake West, who also directed Razorblade, Smile, and Evil Aliens as well as Doghouse, did a pretty decent job when it came to building the atmosphere. But how does he deliver on the good stuff? The gore, the effects, there's some gnarly stuff here. We get dozens upon dozens of grotesque, grimy dead bodies, and a couple of splattery slit throats, an explosive, gushy, crushed head, a couple of bloody impalings, glass to the face, and some more. It's got some decent gore. The effects are a pretty mixed bag. The transformation scene is actually really well done, besides one CG shot near the end of it. The practical stuff, as I said, was okay. The tail on the suit doesn't move too much unless it was done in post. The gore effects are passable. I mean, the explosive, gushy, crushed head was obviously done off screen. It was just like crushing his head, and then they threw gore on the side of the wall. The CGI, though, is utter crap. Definitely the worst in the entire series. There's actually only this one and the fourth one that you CGI, and it's much worse here. And there's way too much of it. I wonder where that estimated $6 million went to. The motion picture soundtrack, Rob Lord, who did a lot of video game music, composes some truly haunting and eerie music for this movie and the next installment. I always enjoyed the harmonica work. Just so unsettling. Now, before we wrap this up, let's get into some sweet facts with Telltale Treats. Around 50 minutes into the movie, a stack of Hellraiser puzzle boxes can be seen in Fraser's office. Of course, as I said, Doug Bradley portrayed Pinhead in that series for 8 movies, as well as Fraser in this movie. Speaking of Hellraiser, the makeup effects designer on this movie was Gary J. Tunnicliffe, who also directed Hellraiser Judgment, as well as did makeup effects work for Hellraiser 3, 4, and 6 to 10. This was shot back-to-back with Part 4 in the series, which I will be reviewing next. So what are my overall thoughts for Pumpkinhead, Ashes to Ashes? It is a subpar movie that had so much potential. The writing is atrocious when it came to the dialogue and reasoning. Selling dead organs is worthless on the black market. Jesus. The acting is almost insufferable, even from the 2 main actors that are the drawl for this movie, like Lance Henriksen and Doug Bradley, but they do have some redeeming scenes. And it's an ugly movie in a good and bad kind of way. It's ugly because it is perfectly rustic, yet it doesn't look nice. It looks like it was cheaply filmed. Still, I would rather watch this than Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Rains again. It may be worse in some ways, but in others it excels with the gore and the music. Overall, I give Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes a 1.5 out of 5. Thank you all for watching, and I am Brian Gatto, the horror show host. Make sure to like, comment on, as well as share this video. Also, like my Facebook fan page and Twitter page, and support me on Patreon, where even $1 a month will help keep this channel going on strong, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Plus, you'll get access to body counts and other music videos that you can't get on YouTube because of copyright and age restriction. The links will be in the description below. Also, hit that notification bell, and as always, subscribe.